Over the weekend, President Biden said he's ready to take action if Congress is serious about solving the border issue.
If that bill were the law today, I'd shut down the border right now and fix it quickly. And Congress needs to get it done.
Starting another fucking war.
What'd she say? What she say out her mouth? Y'all caught that, right? The hot mic caught that. She thought she was off the mic. She thought the mic was cold. She thought the mic was dead. It picked it up. And it was displayed and heard throughout the world. She clearly said, started another effing war. And what prompted that comment was the speech of Jim Crow Joe Biden. That's what prompted that vitriol comment coming from the so-called media pundit. Now, she later apologized for dropping that F word, saying that this is a PG show. You know, we got children around. We try to keep it proper. No problem with that. But that's not my concern. I'm a grown man. I'm above 13. Take the F word out of the conversation and the so-called apology. I'm still baffled and confused as to what you said prior to the F word when you said started another. Well, what do you mean by that? Another war? Excuse me? Starting another war? Are you suggesting, are you implying out of your mouth that you thought that the microphone was not on? Did you speak the secrets of your heart by suggesting that America, the Jim Crow Joe administration, are warmongers? That they have their hands directly or indirectly in wars? Now we know that wars have began at the time of Joe Biden's administration. We get that. But to go as far as to say that he is possibly responsible for this, that's saying something different. That's a whole lot different than to what common knowledge may know. And then we begin to see the timing and the temperature as these wars begin to brew. We have to keep our eye on this. This is real talk. Started another effing war. And once again, be mindful. These wars that she's talking about, not this war, but the other wars which she's referring to in that short, brief sentence that started another effing war, it implies there are other wars. These other wars are external wars outside of America's borders. These are international wars going on. And she is, even in that, she is suggesting that America has her hands in these wars directly or indirectly. That's what she's saying. That's how I read that. That's how I interpret that English language. And that's how I read that language. That's what's being implied there, to my knowledge, to my understanding. And then when you hear the actual tone and how she speaks it, that's something else as well. But listen, follow me. Follow me now. As I said before, the other wars are external wars. This possible war that she's talking about, could she be referring to a war from within America's borders? Why do you say that, Bar? Because at the speech which Joe Biden was given, he was talking about taking action against the open border and the policies which he has allowed. The same policies which have been recently backed by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court backs Biden in the dispute with Texas over border barrier. They told Governor Abbott, you have to leave that border open and you cannot close it the way you want to close it. We did a video on this, check the timeline. We were going against Stephen Agent Smith, who was always on the wrong side of history. He was trying to propose that this border policy, this border barrier policy, was actually racist, and it's not. I explained to him it was actually just a good move to preserve and protect the American people from all kinds of invaders. We've been talking about the illegal immigration invasion for quite some time, long before we did videos on Stephen A. Smith. Check the timeline. But once again, he will always be seemingly on the wrong side of history because 70% of Americans to this day, and I don't always go by what Americans agree with. Let me be clear on that. I don't go by what the masses agree on, because the masses many times can be asses. So I don't go by what they say all the time. But I'll just say this to my point to some degree. 70% of the American people at the moment, they disapprove of Biden's handling of immigration in the latest in the CBS polls, January 9th, 2024. Okay? This is facts. People are against this. And I'm telling you right now, as more digital evidence presents itself before the court of public opinion, those numbers of disapproval are going to go higher. I can promise you that too. Okay? And then you have the governors of the good old party. I don't support the good old party. Don't confuse me. But the good old party, they are coming together and they are meeting at the border, supporting Governor Abbott in protection of America's borders and against the policies being invoked by the Supreme Court and by the Biden administration. Okay? So now Joy says, after Joe Biden's speech was played about the border, about the immigration, and about what actions he will now take, keeping in mind Joe has changed his tune and tone. Please keep this in mind. He has changed his tune and tone. He did not speak ever about closing the border until he began to see these polls pertaining to the American people and how the American people are looking at him very unfavorably. So now his tune has changed on that border policy to some degree. And as his tune changed on that border policy to some degree, so too did Joy Reid's tune changed. She didn't like that. Now we can discuss her ethnicity and her background later on because we're sure she will step in it again. No doubt about that. We got a lot of time on our hands to slowly pour this juice. So we're going to take our time with Joy Reid. We're just going to stick with the facts at the moment. Not to say that the thing we mentioned earlier will not be facts, but we'll leave it alone just right now. But certainly something triggered her. How about that one? Something certainly triggered her. And it was at Joe Biden's changing of his tone about that immigration policy, closing that border. And she's saying that in the context, this is the main point I really want to hammer, I want to get at here. She is saying another war at the context of what? At the context of the illegal immigration invasion so-called crisis. That part, do not miss that part. I'll be done real soon. She is saying that another war at what? At the conversation of the illegal immigration invasion so-called crisis. I can't call it a crisis on this channel because we can clearly see that it was by design. A crisis is something that happens out of one's control. This was a controlled thing, and they're just calling it a crisis now, okay? But she is saying that a potential civil war in 2024 is at the door. And it's going to be at the back, possibly, of the illegal immigration so-called crisis. That's how I interpret this commentary. Please share your thoughts. Let me know if I'm reaching. Let me know if I'm teaching. Share your thoughts. But I'm telling you right now, this is an unstable situation. I sense the frustration within the people. I sense the frustration even within the media pundits. They tried to wipe this under the rug by simply suggesting that she was apologizing strictly for the F-word usage. But that was not the most concerning part. The most concerning part is that she basically indicted the U.S. government, the Joe Biden administration, for creating wars directly or indirectly and potentially starting another war, whether it be on the outside of America's borders or from within, seemingly from the conversation Joe gave from the platform, and then she in turn thinking the mic was off, seemed like it may be a potential civil war at the conversation of the illegal immigration invasion so-called crisis. Potential civil war in 2024 is at the door. That's the juice.